जय बिहारी जय राम। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, जय प्रभुपदा। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजक आचार्य स्तोत्र षट हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस AC भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि श्री श्री गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33rd chapter, verse 31. तद्विरासीत् पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं, क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं नाम्ना सिद्धपदं यात्रा सा संसिद्धिम् उपेयुषी। तद्विरासीत् पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं नाम्ना सिद्धपदं यात्रा सा संसिद्धिमुपेयुषी। पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं नाम्ना सिद्धपदं यात्रा सा संसिद्धिमुपेयुषी। तद्विरासीत् पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं सा संसिद्धिमुपेष्यसि। तद्विरासीत् पुण्यतमं क्षेत्रं त्रैलोक्यविश्रुतं नाम्ना सिद्धपदं यात्रा na samsiddhim upeyushi. Tadvirashit punyatamam kshetram trailokya vishrutam namna siddhapadam yatra namna tadvirashit punyatamam kshetram trailokya vishrutam namna siddhapadam yatra sa samsiddhimupeyushi satvirashit punyatamam kshetram trailokya vishrutam nana siddhapadam yatra synonyms. Tat, that. Veera, O brave Vidura. Asit, was. Punyatamam, most sacred. Kshetram, place. Trailokya, in the three worlds. Vishrutam, known. Namna, by the name. Siddhapadam, Siddhapada. Yatra, where. Sa, she. Samsiddhim, perfection. Upeyushi, achieved. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, the key. The place where Devahūti achieved her perfection, my dear Vidura, is understood to be a most sacred spot. It is known all over the three worlds as Siddhapada. There's no purpose, so I'll continue reading. Dear Vidura, the material elements of our body have melted into water and are now a flowing river, which is the most sacred of all rivers. Anyone who bathes in that river also attains perfection, and therefore all persons who desire perfection go bathe there. My dear Vidura, the great sage Kapila, the personality of Godhead, left his father's hermitage with the permission of his mother and went towards the northeast. While he was passing in the northern direction, all the celestial denizens known as Cāraṇas and the Gandharvas, as well as the munis and the damsels of the heavenly planets, prayed and offered him all respects. The ocean offered him oblations and a place of residence. It is understood that Kapila Muni first went towards the Himalayas and traced the course of the river Ganges, and he again came to the delta of the Ganges at the sea now known as the Bay of Bengal. The ocean gave him residence at a place still known as Ganga Sagara, where the river Ganges meets the sea. That place is called Ganga Sagara Tirtha, and even today people gather there to offer respects to Kapila Dev, the original author of the Sankhya system of philosophy. Unfortunately, this Sankhya system has been misrepresented by an impostor who is also named Kapila. But that other system of philosophy does not tally with anything described in the Sankhya of Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are a few more verses, I'll just finish this. This is good verses. Verse 35. Even now, Kapila Muni is staying there in trance for the deliverance of the conditioned souls in the three worlds, and all the acharyas or great teachers of the system of Sankhya philosophy are worshipping him. 36. My dear son, since you have inquired from me, I have answered. O sinless one, the descriptions of Kapila Dev and his mother and their activities are the purest of all pure discourses. Verse 37. the description of the dealings of Kapila Dev and his mother is very confidential. And anyone who hears or reads this narration becomes a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is carried by Garuda. And thereafter he enters into the abode of the Supreme Lord to engage in the transcendental service of the Lord. Purport. The narration of Kapila Dev and his mother Devahūti is so perfect and transcendental that even if one only hears or reads this description, he achieves the highest perfectional goal of life. For he engages in the loving service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt that Devahūti, who had the Supreme Lord as her son and who followed the instructions of Kapila Dev so nicely, attained the highest perfection of human life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 33rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Activities of Kapila Dev. End of 3rd canto. Om Tat Sat. So this series of verses describes the destination of Devahūti, what she achieved at the end of her practice. So if you look at the previous chapters where Kardama Muni left his ashram, he went to the forest, she was left alone, and she was wondering, what should I do now? Pretty much like Parikshit Maharaj, he was cursed and he was asking, what is that I should do? What should be my duty of somebody who is dying? Devahūti's situation is quite different. In one sense, she was not dying, but of course she was dying internally, because now his dear husband is gone and nobody else is there to take care of her. So then Kapila Dev appeared. He does not appear as any, he Supreme Personality of Godhead. He appears as he is in the spiritual world. So then Devahūti surrenders to Kapila Dev, knowing that he is a Supreme Lord. She is asking him, I am bewildered now, I am confused, what should I do now? And there it starts the whole instructions, teachings of Kapila Dev, right from early 20s chapters, right? Chapter 20s or maybe 19s, and that's where he describes the whole, the glories of bhakti, devotional service. He talks about karma, jnana, yoga, but then he concludes that bhakti yoga is the highest. So if you look at the previous verses, he's saying, Mother, I have given you the most sublime instructions, most sublime teachings. Just follow this with faith and you will achieve the destination without any difficulty. Like if you look at Bhagavad Gita, there Krishna tells the same teachings to Arjuna, that in this process, Bhakti Yoga, Arjuna asks, between Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, which one is supreme? This is 12th chapter, which is called Devotional Service, Bhakti Yoga. There, Krishna in the 2nd verse itself, he nails it down. Bhakti Yoga is the highest. Arjuna is not even asking about Karma Yoga, because that's like, he does not even consider, even to compare with Bhakti Yoga. Because Jnana Yoga gives you liberation, but Bhakti Yoga gives you destination higher than that. And then in the subsequent verses, Krishna is telling, if you practice Jnana Yoga, that is going to be very, very different, very, very difficult for you. He says, Kleshas adhikataras tesham avyakta ashakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham. It is going to give you dukkha, miseries. Deho vadbhir avapyate. If you are embodied in a body which has a form, which has a shape, how can you then completely reject this form and accept which is formless, which is Brahman, Nirvana, or liberation, which is the destination of Jnana Yoga? He's saying, do not do this process. It is very, very difficult. Even though at the end of the process, they also achieve liberation, which is, mukti. But that process is going very, very difficult. And same instructions, when Kapila Dev talks about karma yoga, and then he talks about jnana yoga, and then he talks about ashtanga yoga, he talks about everything. But then he concludes that bhakti yoga is the highest, which is again similar to what Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna also talks about karma yoga, 3rd chapters, jnana yoga, 4th chapters. He continues with that in 5th chapters. Again he continues in 6 chapters. He gives all of it. But when he talks about bhakti yoga, which is from chapter 7 to chapter 12, he completely nails it down. Bhakti yoga is the highest. And that is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita also. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Leave everything. Forget about karma, forget about jnana, forget about ashtanga yoga. Bhakti yoga is the highest, and that's the pure bhakti. So, we see in these verses that, he gave the instructions, he takes permission. He's a supreme Lord. But yet he's taking his permission from his mother. Can I go now? Can I leave? Because why? Because the Supreme Lord has a great affection for his devotees. Even if you perform even if you perform mixed bhakti, even if there is no bhakti, even if you pretend you are a bhakta, he's greatly attracted. Ajamil had no bhakti. He did accidental bhakti. By accident he called Narayana, he's not calling to Supreme Lord, he's calling to his son. But what was the result? All of his karma, reactions of the previous lives, present lives, future lives, everything was gone. And when Yamadutas came, they said, you cannot touch him anymore. He is now completely free. Why? Because just by accidental uttering of the holy name, he is now beyond everything. And that's what we saw in the previous verse, that even if a dog eater chants the name of the Supreme Lord, he surpasses all the positions of varnashram. He becomes the highest. So that's the power of the holy name, which is the core of essence of bhakti yoga. So the principles described in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna and the principles described in Bhagavatam by Kapila, they are same. Why? Because it is all coming from the one Supreme Lord. He has many, many forms. He has forms as Krishna, he has forms as Narayana, as Narasimha, as Vamana. All these are one person, but he manifests different forms. Why? Depending on the desires of the devotee. If the devotee wants to desire to see him as very opulent, very, we can say, authoritative and with awe and reverence, then he manifests as Vishnu or Narayana with all the powers, with Narasimha, with 4 hands and all that, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, with the club, with the disc and all that. But if you want to see him with love and devotion, Krishna can manifest, he can remove all those opulence and he can manifest you as a 200 form of Krishna. So he has unlimited forms. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam, Adyam, Puranam, Purusham, Nava Yauvanam Cha. Vedesha Durlabam, Adurlabam, Atma Bhaktau, Govindam Adi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma is saying, you have unlimited forms. But then, only somebody who is a devotee can understand them. Just by reading Vedas, it is very, very difficult. Vedesha Durlabam, Durlabham. Durlabham means very, very difficult to understand just by reading Vedas. But only by practicing Bhakti Yoga, they can understand Supreme Lord very, very easily. Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavan yaschati tatpataha tato mam tatpato nyatva vishate tat anantaram. Again in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying only devotees can understand me, nobody else. In full, right? We can understand in partial also, which is, Brahman realization is partial. Little more understanding is Paramatma. But the highest is Bhagavan realization. That is the highest. And that realization can be achieved only by devotees. Why? Because they practice at least they try to practice pure bhakti and following the instructions of the Supreme Lord. So here we see that Kapila Muni, once he leaves the hermitage, he goes to different places in Himalayas, and he finally takes shelter in a place called Ganga Sagar. This actually, it is even now you can visit this place. It's close to Calcutta, where Ganga actually meets the ocean, Bay of Bengal. This place is very tirtha, holy, and many devotees, they go there, they take bath. Why? Because they want to take mercy, blessings of Kapila Dev. But people who do not understand what is the true nature of Kapila Dev, they may go there, they may just take bath and come back. They don't know what's the actual teachings of him. So even if you don't go there, but if you actually accept those teachings, you're actually receiving those blessings directly. And that's the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Which means even if the Supreme Lord is not there personally, we can derive the same benefit by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Because in Kali Yuga, after Krishna, he went back to Vaikunth, to Goloka Vrindavan, first canto says that Bhagavatam has risen as a sun to dissipate all the darkness of the Kali Yuga. Krishne Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalau Nashtam Drishamesha Puranarko Dhunodita. This Kali Yuga is like a dark place. But when Krishna, why it is dark? Because Krishna has taken Dharma, which is religion, and Jnana. He has taken with him because they are his associates. They have gone with him. Now what to do? That is a question of the rishi, the sages of Naimisharanya. And that's when Sutta Goswami comes and he talks about Bhagavatam. Because this is like a sun which will dissipate all the darkness, all the ignorance of the people and give you the highest goal, prema. It does not give dharma, artha and kama moksha. Of course, if somebody is not a devotee, they may read Bhagavatam, and if they don't have the proper understanding or conclusion, they may take karma yoga is highest, or they may take jnana yoga is highest. But somebody who is a devotee, he will understand that bhakti yoga is the highest. And how does that understanding comes? When they read and hear in a proper conclusion. Because Bhagavatam is like Mohini avatar. Even if you read Bhagavatam, that Mohini avatar, because she took the nectar from the demons and gave the nectar to devotees. Similarly, if we do not have the proper mood of a devotion of a devotee, we may not get the nectar. We will just get like a poison. What is that poison? We may think jnana is highest and we may just take Brahman is the highest and we can take jnana yoga. But somebody who understands properly the conclusion of Bhagavatam, he will take that essence, nectar, and know that bhakti yoga and Bhagavan realization is highest. And that's why reading it through a proper authority is very, very important. And that's why we have Srila Prabhupada, who has given this conclusion in Bhagavatam in a proper way. Yasya deve parabhakti yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite kathita hi artha prakashante mahatmana. Somebody who has proper faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. Yasya deve parabhakti. You should have faith in the Supreme Lord and spiritual masters simultaneously. Then the imports of all the scriptures is automatically comes to him because he is receiving it from the right bona fide spiritual disciplic succession. And for us, we are so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada comes in that disciplic succession of teachings from Krishna, to Madhvacharya, to in between Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then we have Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. So in that way, when we read the Bhagavatam in the right context, right understanding, we get the right conclusion. And that's what Devahūti also got it, because she got that instruction directly from Supreme Lord. All of us are not that fortunate to get that instruction directly, but we have the fortune of reading Srimad Bhagavatam as it is. So, as we see in the previous verses, Devahūti actually attained the spiritual world called Kapila Vaikuntha. There is a planet where Kapila Dev, he is present there eternally. And to that planet, she attained that destination. Why? Because now she is qualified to enter into spiritual world. Of course, one can say that she is an eternal mother of Kapila Dev. She is a Nitya Siddha, which means she was already there, like Yashoda mother. So the Nitya Siddha, they come with Supreme Lord to participate in his Leela or his activities. And this is just, we can say, a pastime of the Supreme Lord, where he is putting his own devotee under, we can say, illusion, and through that illusion Kapila Dev is giving the teachings. Similar to what the situation of Arjuna. Arjuna is also Nitya Siddha. He cannot be under illusion. Like he was like lamenting and he was full of sorrow in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as if he was like completely in illusion. Why? Because Krishna purposely put him in illusion so that now he can talk. He can give the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, not for the benefit of only Arjuna, but benefit of us. He took that opportunity to speak Bhagavad Gita. And here Kapila Dev, taking that benefit of the situation or that opportunity, he spoke the whole teachings of Kapila Muni. In fact, Prabhupada has given a separate book, Teachings of Kapila Dev, a separate book on his whole teachings. So, one may ask then, what is the qualification to enter into spiritual world? Well, that's described here, and that's also described in Bhagavad Gita. Like in the 15th chapter, when Krishna talks about this whole material world being like an inverted tree. Urdhva moolam adashakam ashwatam prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam vedam sa vedavit. That this whole world can be compared as something as a tree which is inverted, having its roots upward and its branches downwards. Right? Prabhupada compares that if you look at a reservoir, in the reservoir of water, you will see the reflection of the tree, which is upside down. He compares to that. This world is like kind of upside down, where things are perverted, reflection of the Supreme Lord or the Supreme World. And then in that series of verses, Krishna describes what is the qualification of that person who actually achieved the spiritual world. And he tells that, this tree has branches downwards also. It is very difficult to understand this whole tree because this is all like, there is no end or beginning to this material world. So it is very difficult for a jiva to understand. And then he tells somebody who actually now takes into bhakti yoga, he can attain that goal. And he tells very nice verses. He says, Tato padam tat parimargatavyam yasmin gatanam nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatha pravriddhi prashrita purani nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha Dvandvair vimuktai sukha dukkha samagnai gachanti amudha padamavyayam tat. So there Krishna is describing that somebody who gets rid of this false material identification, nirmana moha, and he gets freed from this material attachment and Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya. He now invests his faith in spiritual subjects and has now practicing this bhakti yoga. He is qualified. He is only qualified to enter spiritual world. Nobody else can enter that because that place is very, very sacred. This verse described, I think it describes Punyatamam. What is that Punyatamam? Most sacred. that place can only be stepped in by those who are practicing bhakti yoga, nobody else. Karmis or people of karma yoga, sorry, the door is closed. The door does not open for them. The door, their destination is maximum till heavenly planets. And what happens to them? After they spend thousands of years, unfortunately they fall down. There is no way they can go above that, because that is the limit of varnashram. It is not even like varnashram, karma yoga, like it is the limit. Jnana yoga, they can take you to beyond material world, but it can only give you a partial realization, Brahman, effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, that's all. There is a limit there. But only for bhakti yogis or people who are practicing devotional service, they only are qualified to step into the spiritual world. And that happens only because of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because he becomes greatly attached. He develops great affection for his devotees. And being developed that attachment, the Supreme Lord and the Jiva cannot separate themselves. And that's the state of prema. And once in prema you have developed the deep possessiveness of the Lord, you cannot even leave the Lord for a second. And that's the state of actually described here of Devahūti. If you look at the previous verses, even though she is living in a very palatial hermitage, like her place is built with gems and with sapphires, and it's so opulent that even the demigods desire to live there. But because she is bhakti pravaha yogena, in verse 25, it is said by continuous engagement in devotional services, she becomes completely now detached from all these things. So for a devotee, they don't have to practice renunciation separately. If they practice just devotion, these things comes automatically. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. One practices bhakti, Vairagya comes automatically, Jnana comes automatically. So bhakti is independent. It does not mean that if you have to practice bhakti, I have to continue doing my charity, or charity we can do. But charity, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, do it for good cause, which is to him or to his purpose. Of course, you can give charity to others, but the result is not so high. Anyways, so the point is that with bhakti is so independent and complete that just by practicing bhakti, you will achieve all the results of karma, jnana, yoga, and whatever it is. We can practice, because bhakti is so complete. It is purna. That is why this whole knowledge, it is somewhere mentioned that it is a secret. If you look at verse, I think it was verse 30, it says that it is a secret, guya, somewhere in these verses. It says guptam. Yes, here. So let me see. It is protected. Guptam. It is like this knowledge is very, very secret. Same thing in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says this knowledge is guya, and guya means top secret. This is confidential, and that confidential knowledge, Arjuna, I am declaring this to you now, because you are a bhaktosi me sakha cheti. You are a devotee and you are a friend. So only the qualification to receive the true teachings or the proper conclusions is that we become a devotee. And that devotee we can only become when we accept a spiritual master and follow his instructions. Why? Because Krishna he's not here. So what do? We follow Bhagavatam through the instructions of spiritual master. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya Arna Koriho Mane Asha. Narottam Das Thakur says, we sing that every day. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, that the Guru's words are like the lotus words. Just accept it as it is. Do not mentally concoct that maybe I should do this, maybe my chanting is not so good, so I'll practice some meditation, I'll practice something else, I'll practice some jnana yoga. No. If you practice properly, if we practice properly, Bhakti Yoga as it is, given by acharyas, given by authorities, given by Srila Prabhupada, that solution is complete. We don't have to look outside that. And that's why Bhagavad Gita is like a complete solution. Bhagavatam is a complete solution. It has all the answers. We just have to sit down and receive the instructions with an open mind. And that's why Sriman Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna himself. He came down because Krishna said, Saradharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. How do I surrender? He just said, surrender to me, but I don't know the process. And that's why he said, let me go again, because I need to now demonstrate how to surrender. And that's why he came as disguised as a devotee to establish this process of Bhakti Yoga. Of course, he practiced Varnashram because he took sannyas. He had his associates in Brahmana. There was, of course, no Kshatriya then, but most of them are Varnashrams. But in his discussions with Rai Ramananda, he said all that is fine, that is external, but the highest process is Bhakti Yoga. And he says, the best process of Bhakti Yoga is Nam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashaka Nam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Nato Paratara Upaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. And this verse is from Kali Santarna Upanishad. There Brahma is telling Narada that for this age of Kali Yuga, there is no other way. Nato Paratara Upaya. Upaya means solution. He says, na taro, there is no solution to this Kali Yuga. Only solution is Nam Sankirtan. Nato Paratara Upaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. And it will give you all the knowledge, not the knowledge of Jnana Yoga, but knowledge of Supreme Lord, knowledge of his spiritual world, knowledge of his devotees, his Nitya Siddha Bhaktas, knowledge of how to attain him, Bhakti Yoga. All that knowledge comes through a proper authority, which is our spiritual master. And for us, the first spiritual master in ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada. He is a Siksha Guru. He has given all these knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and that Siksha comes directly from Srila Prabhupada. So, looking at the time, I'll just summarize some of the things which we discussed. We discussed about the qualification to achieve spiritual world, and that is described in Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna describes in the 15th chapter, verses from 1 to 5, he describes how can one achieve that. And that is also there described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we also saw how the Supreme Lord is so attracted to his devotees that Kapila there, even though he is Supreme Lord, he is asking his mother's permission, can I go now? Because he is very much attracted and attached to his great affection to his devotees. To the extent that even if we don't do pure bhakti, he still is so attracted. Like Gajendra or Ajamil. Gajendra did not even chant it with devotion. He was calling out to the Supreme Lord because he was in a great distress, being bitten by a alligator. But even with that impure bhakti, the Supreme Lord comes on Garuda. I think it talks about this verse 37, talks about that the Supreme Lord who is carried by Garuda. In that Garuda, the Supreme Lord came and he protected Gajendra, who is an animal. He just accidentally, or even say he chanted without any pure bhakti. Even then the Lord is getting attracted. What to talk about devotees who chant with love and devotion? The Supreme Lord gets bound by their love. The Supreme Lord, he says, I am bound by their love. I have no freedom. The Supreme Lord is all free. He is Swarat, he is completely independent. But for the devotees, he gets bound by the love of devotion, by the prema. And that's what we see. And the greatest manifestation of being bound by the devotees is demonstrated, manifested only by Krishna. When he gets bound by the rope of Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, that never happens to Nrsimhadev. That never happens to Vaman Dev or any other forms of the Supreme Lord. It happens only with Krishna. Why? Because that form allows you to be so personal with the Supreme Lord. So in that way, Bhagavatam establishes, and I think here you have the description of the Supreme Lord riding on the Garuda. So anyways, Bhagavatam establishes that of all the Supreme Lords, of all the forms of Supreme Lord, Krishna is in a very, very special position. He is Swayam Bhagavan. Why? Because he manifests all the rasas, relationships, which other forms does not do. And to attain that Supreme Lord, the highest process or the best process is Bhakti Yoga, which is very flexible. But of all the processes in Bhakti Yoga, Nam Sankirtan is the highest and the easiest of all the process, which will give the ultimate destination of attaining Krishna Prema. Om Tassat. Srila Prabhupada ki. Any reflections, any questions? I welcome. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, you were mentioning how from bhakti comes knowledge, but also I was hearing one lecture, one morning walk by Prabhupada in 1973 here in Los Angeles, and he was saying from knowledge one gets detachment. So how would one understand those two items like that?
Yes, Prabhu. So the question is, how is, from bhakti we know detachment comes, but even from knowledge, how comes detachment? Yes, if you look at 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which essentially is the knowledge yoga or jnana yoga, when we get the knowledge from the authorities that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, we then understand that this material world is totally separate from the spirit soul, which is completely spiritual. And here we are in the material world, which is completely opposite of spiritual aspect. And here I am a spiritual soul, but I am kind of entangled here. Prabhupada explained this as an incompatible situation, where you are in a place where you should not be. You are a spirit soul, but you are in this material world. But with jnana, when we get that jnana that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, then we try to detach ourselves from material activities, material bondings. And how do we do that? By practicing jnana yoga, which means we kind of reduce our material activities, we engage more in development of knowledge. And that knowledge describes, and what is that knowledge, where that knowledge comes from? It is from Vedas, Upanishads. So if you look at Upanishads talks about jnana, it gives you the jnana portion of Vedas, which will give us the knowledge that we are not this body, but we are a spirit soul. And once you have accepted that knowledge, you will no longer engage in material activities, because now you know you are separate from that. And you will understand what is karma, what is reactions. And having received that knowledge, you know that if you have karma, you will get bodies, and then you will get birth after birth after birth. But if you get jnana, if that knowledge, you will then want to separate yourself, practice jnana yoga, and then get mukti. So in that way, jnana itself can give you that detachment from material world. So But one may ask, how is that then Jnana Yoga, which is just like, you can say, people who develop Sattva Gun, they read, scriptures, Upanishads, and they receive and they get liberation, which is a spiritual result. So the question may be also that Sattva Gun, which is actually material, all this Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, this is still material. How somebody who is in a Sattva Gun, practicing Sattva Gun, can achieve liberation? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says somebody who actually receives liberation has to have a little bit of bhakti. Without that bhakti, they don't even get liberation. They fall down from that position. That famous verse of Prabhupada, where Aruya Krichena Param Padam Tata, they fall down because they reject the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Anyways, for the long, in short, yes, Bhakti Yoga gives you Jnana also, but this Jnana is not the Jnana of Upanishads. This is the Bhagavad Jnana, Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya and Prayojana, which actually gives us more faith, gives us more knowledge of the Supreme Lord, His forms, His names, His qualities, His pastimes, His devotees, so on and so forth. Bhakti Yoga gives that, but with Jnana itself, which is inferior to Bhakti, but it can still give you some results.
Yeah, well, Srila Prabhupada, in that quote, he was also mentioning how if you don't have the Jnana knowledge, then your detachment in devotional service will be like artificial. He was mentioning like that. It'd be like sahaja,
Oh, without Jnana?
Without Jnana, your devotional service will be sentimental.
Yes. That is why we have this Jnana knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. This whole Srimad Bhagavatam is all full of knowledge which is for devotees. And that is why I was mentioning that this Bhagavatam is like Mohini avatar. If we do not read with proper context and conclusion, we may get a totally different conclusion that Jnana is supreme, for example. Right? So if somebody receives that knowledge in the right conclusion, they will get the right destination. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you for a wonderful class. Jnana Vriddha, you don't really develop knowledge just because you get older. Or you don't get that knowledge just because you're a devotee for 50, 60 years. But you get that knowledge by surrendering to a superior person. And by that surrender, then you develop real jnana, real knowledge, real understanding.
Yes.
So that's the science of Krishna consciousness. We learn how to take shelter of a superior individual, guru. And then by that process, one can become expert and very knowledgeable and Brahminical. You develop Brahminical qualities by that association. So that is really what Krishna consciousness is about. And that's available for anyone. Anyone, anybody. You just have to come, take shelter of that superior person, and you'll become Jnana Vriddha, full of knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Prabhu. I know Naikatna Prabhu also raised his hand. Naikatna Prabhu.
The Bhagavatam tells us, Janatyasu vairagyam jnanam chayarahoitikam, that when you practice bhakti, jnana and vairagya, detachment, they develop simultaneously without separate endeavor.
Yes.
We don't have to do you don't have to go out and do tapasya, you don't have to read all kinds of books.
Yes.
That knowledge automatically, it comes by Krishna in the heart from Paramatma. Just practice bhakti, and as you become attracted to Krishna, automatically you're detached, and Krishna enlightens you.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu, for the reflection. Acharya Narottam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your wonderful class. So we understand from the previous verses that Kapila Dev went back to Godhead. He had his planet, and Devahūti also went. So, but in one of the slokas that you just read, He says that even now he's in trance and he's doing some type of something for the benefits of the three worlds. So in the purpose, I might be wrong, but Prabhupada explains that he might give the understanding that he's in the Himalayas also doing that type of tapasya. So I have two questions. So is Kapila Dev in the spiritual world right now and simultaneously also in the Himalayas? This is one. And then the other one is when we hear that personalities like Kapila Dev or another personalities, they're doing tapasya for the benefit of the living entities, what does that mean? Because we see Kali Yuga is advancement, is getting worse, people are suffering, things are not easy. So what type of benefit do we get from of what they do?
Yes, very nice question, Prabhu. So, of course, Supreme Lord, He can do whatever He wants. He is Swarat. He can be simultaneously in the spiritual world and also be here, because He can expand. Like Krishna expanded to 16,108 forms in Dwaraka. He can do that. Like in Rasa Leela, Krishna expanded in 3 billion forms. He can do that. And at the same time, when that was happening, He was still in the spiritual world, in Golok Vrindavan. He does not leave that. So that is the Achintya Shakti of the Supreme Lord. So Kapila Dev, I think in the previous verses it said that there is something called Kapila Vaikuntha, a planet for Kapila Dev, like we have planet for Narasimha, Vamana, Narayana and all that. Because Vaikuntha is like unlimited space. So there is one planet dedicated, for him, where he presides as the presiding deity, predominating deity, and he resides there. But he also can expand at the same time and be here wherever he wants, Himalayas. I think it is said he finally took residence in Ganga Sagar, where Ganga meets the ocean. And so what benefit people can get by his teachings? Through his teachings, understanding the true teachings and following that teachings, as Prabhu said, surrender. How do we surrender? To the spiritual master, because he defines the process. And the best process, actually our acharyas, as Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Krishna says mamekam. Acharya says namekam sharanam vraja. Took shelter of the holy name. That is the process. So acharyas are not modifying that verse, but they are extending. Krishna's mamekam sharanam vraja is namekam sharanam vraja. And when you take shelter of namekam, why will you take shelter? Because now you have developed faith in the teachings of Kapila Dev. We will take shelter of his teachings and practice. And if we practice that, we attain the destination. And that is a benefit. But that benefit is not taken by so many people in this material world. They are all like bereft of this knowledge. They don't know what it is, right? But people who are most fortunate, they get this knowledge. That is why this is confidential. Even though this is described in Bhagavatam, that this is the best process, but people don't put faith in that. And that's why this is confidential. But devotees like you and everybody here assembled here, who have accepted this knowledge, they are taking the benefit. Why? Because now they are set in this process of going back home, back to Godhead, by achieving Krishna Prema. And that is the highest benefit that can be bestowed on any of the living entity. Because even if a karmi goes to Ganga Sagar, he may just take bath there as if it is just a place of pilgrimage and come back. But somebody who is a devotee, he will know what to pray, and that prayer should be, give me prema. Because only then, because they ask that because they have that understanding that getting prema is the highest benefit one can get. Does that answer, Prabhu, to some extent? There.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the lecture. I have a question about, you said this world is like the upside down, right? Srila Prabhupada said that. And is there ever a time in scripture where it says that this world will get back into balance? Like I hear that there's the golden age, right? Or will they continue to just be more and more hellish?
So that's a very good question. So that's the nature of the material world. Material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, and this material world is compared to a prison. People who actually, or the jivas who actually rebel against the Supreme Lord, they don't want the authority of Supreme Lord. They are put into this jail, and this will remain the jail forever. This inverted position can never be changed, because that is the nature of the material world. So unfortunately it will remain as it is forever. Because it can never be corrected, because this place, if it becomes corrected, then it will lose the meaning of being a material world. Material world is supposed to be inverted. You see what I'm saying?
Then what is the golden age?
Exactly. So golden age, so think of a rainy day where it is very cloudy, you cannot see the sun, right? And because it is very cloudy, it is all gloomy, dark, ignorance, right? But if the clouds gets dissipated, right, which means now the clouds are gone and you can see the sun, what happens? It is all illuminated, it is all bright, right? And it stays bright for some time, and that time is now, because that time the sun has arisen as Srimad Bhagavatam, which was propagated by Sriman Mahaprabhu. So that golden age is supposed to last for 10,000 years in Kali Yuga. But still, material world's position being inverted, like the inverted tree, that remains. But in that situation also, because of the mercy of the Supreme Lord, there is an oasis, spiritual oasis, which is created by Sriman Mahaprabhu and his descendants for us to take shelter. But then after this golden age, it will again become gloomy, and the true nature of Kali Yuga will start to manifest, which will become very, very low, and people will become very, low graded and all that. But so we should take benefit of this golden age and practice Bhakti Yoga by doing Nam Sankirtan and go back home, back to Godhead.
Okay.
Right?
So we're in the golden age right now.
Right now, this is the time. Book your tickets right now to Golok Vrindavan. Okay. And Srila Prabhupada is giving the tickets, and that is through Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.